Hi everyone, I'm Miguel Rivera, and this is Real Talk with Miguel Rivera. You're listening to Real Talk with Miguel Rivera, a podcast that inspires individuals to connect, build community, and pursue their passion. My name is Miguel Rivera, and I'm an educator, community advocate, and executive director of Dream Big Project. And I'm sitting down with passionate and inspiring individuals to talk about their stories, the lessons they've learned, and how they're making an impact. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, human beings of all ages. I have someone very special in front of me today. I'm excited to really dive into everything that we're going to talk about. I know there's going to be nothing but great things, great material, great insight, great stories, and most importantly, great lessons for you to be able to take with you today or after you listen to the episode. I give you my younger brother, Ivan Rivera, currently working with Verizon, doing amazing things, personally and professionally. Most importantly, he recently just bought a new home, him and his wife. So there's tons of great things that I believe are going to come out of today's episode, recording. Ivan, brother, man, thanks for joining us on the podcast, bro.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I will add, I'm a little disappointed because I wasn't number one, but I'll still take it.
Hey.
What episode is this?
5. I believe you're lucky number 5.
I'm gonna have to add that to my roulette. Lucky numbers.
There you go.
Number 5.
That's the first number you're gonna be betting on once you do hit Vegas. Keep that in mind. That's gonna be big money.
Yeah, there you go.
But appreciate you being on the podcast, bro.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like this is something that has been a long time coming, and I'm sure every one of your guests says finally, and
yeah, I think especially me too. I feel like I've been wanting to do the podcast, and maybe I mentioned it to you in the past, maybe not, but I feel like this is something I've been working on for a little while, and just kind of wasn't ready, or at least didn't have at least I thought I wasn't ready, or the right timing wasn't there with school and just everything that's been going on. But I think, right, it happened when it was supposed to happen, and it couldn't be any better. So I'm just really glad that we're finally up and going. And so far, we've had some amazing people on. You've seen them already. You listened to it, and now you are, get to be the next amazing person on. So just happy that we're finally able to get this going.
Yeah, I'm part of that list. I think maybe you should have photos of people added in the podcast room.
That's actually a great idea.
That we have everyone on the podcast of fame. Ooh. Call it that or something, right?
That reminds me of the Improv, the comedy show.
I don't think I've seen it.
Okay.
Or, well, I know what...
You've gone, though,
yeah,
right?
I've never been.
Oh,
The Laugh Factory? Like that?
Yeah, exactly. But the Improv.
Yeah, I haven't.
I've been to the Laugh Factory and the Improv.
I feel like I've seen it. Someone at the... Well, I've seen Fluffy. Does that count?
Yeah. But at the Improv in the hall...
Oh, it's an actual place.
Yeah,
okay.
The actual place.
Okay.
You remember Ontario Mills?
Yes.
So there's the Improv is attached to the mall.
Okay.
So anyways, the reason why I brought it up is because when you enter the Improv,
they have
you walk through a hall to get to the comedy room, and within the hall there's pictures, like portraits of each comedian that's performed there. So
there you go.
What you said,
and then you have people write their little statement. Statement. See,
yeah, and then so it's really cool because you go now, you see these top comedian stars. Who started out at the Improv. So then you're like, what? Like, you're able to see just how much they've grown. Yeah. So I think that's really cool. It's a great point.
Yeah. No,
I might consider that.
Just make sure credit Ivan owns. Yeah. There you go.
Credit you. Credit. Put your name on it. Like.
Yeah. I'll have a trademark on everybody's picture somewhere in the bottom.
That's a good one.
No, it'll be good, man. I think because you were talking about earlier about finally it's come to be, and a lot of and it's kind of with everything with anyone about you almost want to wait until it's perfect, but sometimes you just got to start.
That's a great point.
You just got to start, and I forgot who I was listening to. I think it was Anthony's. he had mentioned something about like always wanting to do something. And
Right.
Anthony is someone who always
He's
always want to
doing
do
that.
something. But sometimes you just do it, you know. Not to, you know, Nike, you got to pay us for those promotions.
Right.
But,
You better send that check ASAP.
but sometimes, yeah, you just do it. And I think with the setup here, you know, I know we don't have that visual representation yet, but once you do, the setup is cool. You know,
Right.
this could be a dedicated podcast.
Appreciate it, man.
But it's pretty
bro.
good.
I think it's only going to get better for sure. I mean, the guests alone are amazing. So I think that speaks for itself, right? It's able to really elevate the podcast or put it on a certain level because of the guest and all they have to share. I think that's really what excites me about the podcast, not anything else. I really do think there's so much value that we can bring to people, to listeners, I guess it's mainly listeners, right? Because if you're not listening, you really wouldn't get any value from it. But yeah, I think there's tons of value that could be brought through this.
What are some of the what's your objective? Like, what's your goal? 2021. If you had to put a stamp on it, where do you want your podcast to be?
I want to have at least, I think, a good goal. One goal within the podcast would be to have about 10,000 guests at the end of the year.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? So actually, no, that's what I'm mapping it out right now is 4 guests a month. So that's like 50 guests at the end of the year.
10,000 listens.
Right.
Yeah.
Downloads.
Download
is what I meant to say. Sorry about that. But that's why I'm trying to get at least 1 guest per week.
That's
so
good.
4 within the month. And again, I'm going into this as a fun project, like a passion project.
Yep.
Really engaging, meeting people, and even if there's people I know, obviously you being my brother and other friends who've gone on already. Again, going back to just the amount of value that every person has within themselves, right? Like going to the storytelling, going to the lessons that we've all experienced on an individual level, and then come together and then we start to realize how similar but also different we are, and how we could relate to everything that we've experienced.
Yeah, and I think kind of some of the stuff you hear now, it's not that it's not attainable or relatable, but this is what people need. People need to hear real stuff. You know, like you kind of hear this. We've got accustomed to this fairy tale of what right looks like, because that's what, like, how social media is, right? People only post the good. So subconsciously we probably think like, man, that's how do I get that? But they don't see the efforts. Right.
They don't really.
Or the struggles.
Right.
That
exactly. And I think that's. I think that's one of the reasons why people are so impatient, right? People aren't patient anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like how our attention span has gone shorter and shorter. Now the same thing with patience, right?
Yeah.
Less and less.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because that's extremely critical to you need patience, right? You have to be able to focus on a certain task for a certain period of time, and at the same time be able to shift that attention and execute. And I think we're losing that. Naturally, we're losing that naturally if we're not working on it, really.
It's true, and I'm guilty of it too. At work. So a little bit about like my day to day, or what I do, I guess, for the people who are listening.
Yeah, it's a great. For it.
So I now have worked with Verizon, or a retailer for Verizon, for the last 6 years. And how that came to be, I always credit my wife Jessica. Actually, even recently, I credit her of how I got there. So a little bit of how that happened was, we both were working at Outback Steakhouse. I was a busboy, no sales experience, you know. So
I remember, yeah.
Yeah, and then I got a job like selling shoes. I was selling Uggs, right? Like that, Uggs,
hey,
and
those are still in. Those are still trending right now.
Yeah, Uggs and boots. Somebody would come in and say, "Hey, you know, what type of material is this?" And I'd even know. I'm like, I don't know. But you know, that's kind of the person I was at the time, right? It's not that I wasn't too invested in it, but I was okay. This is a job, you know. And then Jessica, we went to Starbucks because, you know, the ladies love Starbucks.
Right? Who doesn't?
And I'm probably more guilty of that now too. I'm drinking coffee all the time.
Every day, same here.
But she had said, "Hey, look, they're hiring. You know, they're now hiring. You should go to apply."
About the shoe store?
For Verizon.
Oh, for Verizon.
This is while I was working for the shoe place.
Okay.
So she said, "They're hiring. Go and apply." Okay. Yeah, why not? You know, went and applied. And I didn't get the job. He said, "Hey, you know," and he actually told me in the interview saying, "Look, I like your attitude, but just can't hire you right now."
Wow.
And
was there a specific reason why?
yeah, so he said it's at that time it was November, which is holiday season for retail, and he said, "Look, we're looking for people with sales experience." So, you know, and luckily this guy was nice enough to say, "Hey, go apply here, try to get a job with them. In a few months, you try to come back with us." Right? And at the time, I actually did. I went to, there was a retail store in the Norwalk Town Square, and it was a Verizon store. I went in, asked if I can get an application. I think I gave them my resume. I didn't hear back from them, but I didn't get any other job. So I was working at the shoe place for like 2 months, and then I get a call back from the guy, the manager.
The same person?
Yeah, here in Norwalk. And he says, "Hey, look, you know, it's not, you know, it's the beginning of the year. We're looking to bring people on. We have time to train." So I was like, all right, sure, why not, right? So as I was trying to join Verizon, or a retailer for Verizon, it's called Victra, the shoe place said, "Hey, don't leave. We'll give you an assistant manager position."
Oh, they offered you a
2 months in
promotion.
Yeah, and I think kind of goes back to our family, you know, the work ethic. Right. Doesn't matter what type of job you get or what you do. If you give a commitment to someone for something, you're going to do your best at it. Right. And maybe the competitiveness in us. So that was like the thought. I remember talking with Jessica, talking with, you know, Mom about like, what do I do? They want to give me an assistant manager. It's $15 an hour. Back when the minimum wage was like 12, I think, or 11.
I remember how big this.
Yeah,
big of a decision this was.
Huge decision, because not only were they going to give me an assistant manager position, they were going to give me like weekends off. Like they were going to do everything for me to keep me.
Right. And it was like both of them were going to do whatever it took to get you.
Yeah.
Or to keep you, right?
Yeah. And then obviously I went with Verizon, and then, which was probably a really good decision, but it's still, you know, at the time, just turned 21. Was really looking for, you know, any 21-year-old now, you want to have like a 9 to 5, right? You want to, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to, you know, I also don't want a job to work on the weekends. So when I was with Verizon for the first 6 months, that was my thought. I was like, all right, I need to get into the bank. I want to go work at the bank because you get holiday pay, you know, what everyone looks for in a job: holiday pay, vacation time, weekends off,
good benefits,
right? And I was like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna go and try to apply, and I applied and I got the job.
At Bank of America.
At Wells Fargo.
At
Wells Fargo, yeah. And so now I'm literally hired on to Wells Fargo.
Oh,
and yeah, literally hired on, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna tell my job like I'm gonna quit, you know, because I want.
When you're at the shoe store.
No,
right?
Verizon. I'm at Verizon now. Verizon, 6 months in, and now I'm gonna leave them to go work at the bank because I wanted those hours.
You really wanted that bank
hours.
Job.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so my district manager at the time says, "No, you don't want to leave right now. We're coming up on the fourth quarter, and holiday or wireless. That's like the best time. You make the most money."
So he wanted to keep you.
Yeah, he wants to keep me.
He was like telling you no.
Yeah, it was like July, and he's like, no. I'm like, I already start Monday.
Like,
I have
to you.
Yeah, I have to go. I already told him to start. Like, I'm already starting. I had a profile ID in my Wells Fargo banking account. I already had like a retirement account.
What?
Like set up, the 401k set up with the company.
That's wild.
So he said no, like, you know, you don't leave. So then then at the time, the regional manager called me, which is my boss's boss it was my boss's boss's boss. Wow. So 3 levels ahead.
Oh man.
At the time when I was a sales rep. She called me. She said, "Hey Ivan, are you sure you want to leave? Like, why do you want to leave? What if we make you an assistant manager?" Like she said,
Wow.
assistant manager,
Another
and
promotion.
yeah, and I was like, well, it's not even the title, it's the time, you know. I said, I just they're gonna give me holiday pay, they're gonna give me time off, weekends off, or Sundays off at the time, Sundays off. She said, we'll do it. We'll give you Sundays
They'll
off.
match it.
We'll match everything, and you're gonna be
Dang.
assistant manager. And I actually told her no. Yeah, I told her
What?
no, and then I had talked with Mom and Jessica again, and I was like, you know what, like, let me just go for it. Let me just go stay here. And so I called her back. I think it was like 4 hours later. I said, hey, look, or it was like 4 hours or a day later. I said, hey, look, I want to do it.
The same day?
Same day. So I was like, I want to do it. I want to stay. You got my commitment, you know.
And what made you say no? Was it because it wasn't the bank?
Because I think at that time, I guess I left this part out of the story, but a few years before that, before the shoe place, before working at the restaurant industry, being a busboy, I'd applied for Wells Fargo and Bank of America multiple times as to be a teller. And who knew that it would be such a hard thing to get a job as a teller? But I literally got denied like 3 times from between Bank of America and Wells Fargo.
Wow.
So when it was this 4th time, well, obviously I did well in the interview because of the sales skills. And that's maybe something we can talk about later about skills you develop in retail.
For sure.
But so those sales skills I developed in the 6 months I worked with Verizon got me the job for Wells Fargo.
Wow.
Right. And then once
you were quick to pick that up.
Exactly. Right. So
and
then,
apply that.
Yeah. And then when I have finally decided to stay and become an assistant manager here, it really changed everything. Wow. You know, 6 months later after that, so now it's a little less than 1 year, I get my first store. Luckily, I was, Spanish speaking, and it was in a, predominantly like Hispanic area and in Anaheim. And at this time, in Orange County, not too many people, or at least in sales, were speaking Spanish.
Right.
So I was like, as soon as I seen the opportunity become available, I asked for it.
You jumped on it?
I jumped on it because I said, hey, I know there's an opening. I speak Spanish. I've been with the company for, almost a year now. Look at my sales numbers. I can do it. And yeah, he gave me the job. And then that was my first time managing a store and managing people.
Wow.
I was assistant manager, but it was, assistant manager.
Big difference.
Yeah, it's a huge difference because you're, and managing your own store, you're not, for a Verizon retailer, managing your own store is like operating your own business. Mm-hmm. You're in charge of labor. You're in charge of, making sure you're training. Scheduling. You're literally labor, operations, training. You're wearing multiple hats. Right. So it's not an easy job to have because of how difficult it could be and how many things you have to do. So 6
months into the promotion, you had to stay. 6 months later, you got your own store.
Yeah. And so, I was in Anaheim, and then the company. So a little bit about how Verizon works is Verizon allows people to basically use their brand and sell. So you can we call it Dream Big Wireless, and you can sell Verizon if you're a independent contractor through Verizon.
Okay.
So the company I had worked for actually got sold off to another retailer.
So technically it wasn't a Verizon company.
It wasn't. It was Verizon. We sold Verizon, but the company wasn't Verizon. So then now I'm a new manager. Everyone has to reapply. You have to it was weird. It's what happens when someone sells their company.
And this is the same company you're with now, right?
Yeah, it's the same company I'm with now. So everyone, quote unquote, reapplies. Obviously, I'm still selected to be the manager here.
Yeah, then to say that does that mean there's a chance that you're not?
There's a lot of people who lost their jobs.
Oh wow.
Yeah, a lot of people who lost their jobs.
Dang.
And the company doesn't want to take on dead weight. So
that's interesting.
Yeah. So I was fortunate to keep my job. Got a pay increase because this company that I'm with now paid way more. To give you an idea, at the time it was $17 an hour as a manager when we were only getting paid like 14 something.
Wow.
So you got a raise. Everything was good. So about 6 months later, I became another store, or I got another store, and then like 3 months after that, I had another store. So at the time now, I had 3 different stores managing under my belt. Not at once. Not at once.
Okay.
Yeah. At this time, it's just individual. I'm moving store to store.
Store to store.
Yeah.
And does this come with a promotion and salary too, or hourly?
No.
Just bigger stores or
bigger stores. Okay. All of them are bigger stores.
And that was a good thing.
That was a good thing. And for me, and for a lot of people who are listening, no one wants to work for free.
Right.
Right. But the biggest part about just kind of just building your brand is about the story you tell.
Right.
Right. That you find along the way. Right. So for me, my story was managing multiple locations and many different personalities. Right. Because I knew at that time I wanted to be a district manager.
Right.
And I was like, what do district managers do? They manage multiple locations and they manage multiple personalities. So although I can't manage multiple stores, because as a store manager, that's what a district manager is, right? So you can't manage multiple stores. I can manage many stores, maybe not at the same time, but that's going to give me an opportunity to manage different people.
Basically, if in this way, or during that time, you were thinking, I can show them, I can manage different types of stores, different sizes, different people, hit different numbers.
Yeah,
so that was your way of showing.
That was my way of proving to them that I can do it, right? That I can be a multi-store manager or a district manager. So
and that's what was happening, right? You were getting promotion after promotion.
Exactly. So, and that's what I call a promotion, right? Although it's not classified as it, you have to really look at it that way. And if you don't, then you're not going to be motivated,
That's true, yeah.
So I went from Anaheim to Fullerton and then to a bigger Fullerton store. And then after that store is where I got my big break. Again, kind of going back to the beginning is if I wouldn't have asked for the first store promotion, I would have been in the same boat. So what happened in my third Fullerton store was there was an opportunity in Fountain Valley, Orange County. And I said, and that's like the big doors. Like, oh, wow, you're managing that store? Wow.
Why was that store a big deal?
Of the traffic flow it sees, the numbers it produced, the people who came out of that. Literally the last 4 managers that come out of that store became a district manager.
Oh, wow.
So it had
it's a bigger store too?
It's a larger store. It's on a corner.
Everything's great about it.
Everything is where you want to be.
Okay.
So when I was managing the Fullerton store, I seen that store became available. Yeah, you know, as someone as a go-getter and someone who knows that want to be a DM, hey, I want that store. What do I have to do to get at that store? And this is a really good, lesson for people is if you want something, guess what's the worst that can happen?
People say no.
They say no.
And you end up in the same spot.
Exactly. So let them say no. Don't say no for them by not asking. Right.
How about take action or take initiative to act on those?
Exactly.
Which is what that is.
So I was lucky enough to be considered for the store, and I got it. I got the opportunity. So at that time, it was like now 3 years into Verizon. Yeah, 3 years into Verizon.
3 years into Verizon.
I'm at that store.
5 stores probably within those 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, about 4. Technically, like 4 different stores. Yeah.
And how many years are you now in Verizon?
6. Just came up on the 6th year in January.
And now what position are you in?
District manager. So at Fountain Valley, again, my number one goal is to be a district manager. I want to be a district manager. So you take on tasks. You do stuff without the pay, because like I said earlier, you're building your brand. Right. And that comes at a price. And my brand is going up, and I don't mind taking on this stuff because the long run is this.
You're willing to do more and still get paid the same, or maybe nothing for something completely different, but it's all going to contribute to that goal.
Exactly. And in the sales environment, and I'm sure many can relate, it's pretty competitive. Everyone wants to be a district manager. Right. So not only are you going against like the people in Orange County, but you're going against people in Los Angeles, in the Inland Empire. So because everyone wants that position, right? So you have to separate yourself from everyone. And I just stayed hungry. I just continued to ask, what can I do to improve? What should I be doing? And
who were you communicating this with every time you were
my
asking
district
these
manager?
questions?
And any time I got a visit from higher ups, whether it be a regional director or a an area vice president, even the CEO and the CSO
Wow.
came to my store in Fountain Valley.
So these people were okay.
They do visits in around the area, and of course they want to go to stores where they're
Fountain Valley store.
Yeah, they want to go to stores not only have a good reputation, but that are well kept, and who, I wasn't afraid to put myself out there.
Right.
I asked, like, hey, when these people come, bring them here.
And let me ask you this: because of you putting yourself out there like this, right? Did your name stick to people's minds? Like,
yeah.
Did you notice people maybe managers or whoever would go to you more or keep your name in mind and that type of thing?
Peers, other store managers in Orange County, they knew who I was, right? Okay. Because, in sales, you want to be competitive, you want to call out their numbers, and you want to, just create positive tension. Right.
You were doing that little bit extra to get that recognition.
Exactly. So anytime we had a chance to hold a district meeting, even though I was a store manager, I told my DM, my district manager, hey, let me hold the meeting for us.
Nice.
Right. So I always wanted to get involved and put my face out there. And when we get visits, this is a good opportunity to just showcase who you are, and tell them, hey, I want to move up, right? So one thing that at the time that is huge, and it's with any job probably, I can assume, is being relocatable. What that means is, yes, I have an opportunity in Ohio as a district manager. Are you up for it? Yeah, I am. Let's do it. That ties directly with, your significant other, right? As long as that person's okay with it, you guys are in agreement.
Right.
Then you do it for what you want.
There's more opportunity if you're
relocatable. Now you're not only just limited to LA County or Orange County. You can move to New York.
Exactly.
Right? And that's one thing.
Anywhere in the country.
That's one thing Jessica and I had agreed on, is an event where an opportunity became available like that, then would you take it? And we agreed, yeah. So anytime like the CSO or CEO came, or AVP, I told them, hey, look, thanks for coming to my store. Same talk tracks. Thanks for coming to my store. I hope you liked it. But I want you guys to know, in an event where there's an opportunity available, I don't care if it's here or in Florida or Ohio, wherever, consider me.
You made them aware of that.
I said it every time. Every single time. Even multiple times. Every time they come, I say it. Because
you reminded them. Exactly.
You have to stay in their head. Again, there's hundreds of managers.
Too.
Yeah, there are hundreds of managers across just Southern California.
And how many others want what you want?
Exactly. And how many others are relocatable?
Right.
Exactly. So at the time, this is probably now a little over 2 years ago. I got an opportunity to interview for San Francisco. And
I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that, right? And I told Jessica, my wife, and I'm like, hey, what happens if I get the opportunity? Or, can we go? And so she's talking to, her job about relocating and working from home. And yeah, we were looking for homes and everything because of the, we just felt confident,
Right.
About, my regional was, putting some good word out there for me. So I felt really confident in it. And actually, there was a lot of change happening within the company. During that time, yeah. People were getting laid off, and they were consolidating territories, meaning that instead of having 2 districts, they're going to make one big one. So I had the interview, and I was supposed to fly up for a second interview. But the person that was supposed to interview me actually was up in the air about his own job.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that whole thing got put on hold.
Wow.
Yeah, it got put on hold. And again, this is now a year and a half into me managing the Fountain Valley store.
And you were still at the Fountain Valley store
as I'm trying to interview. And a year and a half into it, I'm like, all right, man, this is the time. And it didn't come. I was so close.
Wow. I remember all those changes. At least the talk within the company, everything that was going on within the company.
There was a lot of people leaving the company, and it was chaos basically. From about, that's 2 years ago. Was that 2019? 2018. So
wow, 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2018. Basically, people were just leaving, and a lot of people were following because, like, hey, those are my friends. Like, it's a good cult. In sales, you build a culture, right? And when you have enough people in your culture, they want to follow you because it's sometimes people don't work for the company; they work for the people who they work for.
Right. Exactly. That's a great point.
So, so they left. A lot of people, and that created more opportunities in LA County.
I was just gonna say that if there more stores opened up for those positions,
so district managers were leaving. So even though the San Francisco opportunity got put on hold, there was opportunities out here in Orange County and in LA County.
So you may not need it to move to San Fran.
Exactly. So my new regional manager now, who was new at the time, I asked him, I said, hey, I have a second interview for San Francisco, but I know there's opportunities out here in LA, can I be considered for that? And he's like, yeah, you have a really good chance, you don't have to do that. I don't have to go to the interview over there. So I'm like, perfect. So I interview over here for LA, and then I didn't get the job.
Oh.
I didn't get the job. So you got to think, like, as someone who put in, at the time, about 4.5 years of literally commitments and blood, sweat, and tears for this opportunity. And I almost had one in San Francisco, but the person who actually denied me for the LA one is the same person who told me, yeah, you have a good chance.
Wow. So
not only did he take away somewhat of the San Francisco,
right,
he was holding me back from the LA one.
So after that, after not receiving the job, the San Francisco job was no longer there.
Yeah, it was gone already.
Oh my goodness.
So
how were you feeling after that?
I think you remember.
Were you pissed?
Yeah. Well, if you remember, we were at the dining room table, and I had came out, and I think Jessica was at work, and I was talking to you and Mom, and it sucked. I was like, I didn't get the opportunity. Frustrated, and he asked me, how do you feel after telling me I didn't get the job? And I told him, I said, hey, well, you told me I had a really good opportunity, so I don't buy it, is what I told him. I said, it just doesn't make sense. I missed out on an opportunity in San Francisco because you told me not to do it.
Right, and it was pretty cleir that
I had it over here, supposedly, right? And I think that's a good lesson, that nothing's ever set in stone. And he said, well, look, here's some things you can work on, and the main thing of the reasoning that he didn't choose me was that I didn't have a good enough strategy behind recruiting, right? And to put some context behind it, as a store manager, you deal with maybe 7 employees, right? And as a district manager, you're dealing with over 40 employees. So
many more people.
Way more, and in an event where, people quit, like, what is your plan to get these people back? And apparently, I didn't articulate a clear enough plan to him for him to identify, like, okay, yes, he is solid. He can recruit people and hire people if he needed.
Within this one area, though.
Within this one area, that's it.
Wow.
That was the only reason.
It's not like you couldn't learn that or be
exactly.
That's
and at the time, it's kind of like, you think, like, as a store manager, you don't really. You don't get an opportunity to really learn that. At least I didn't. My district managers at the time never taught me something like that. And I think I was so blinded about my charisma, my ability to train people, where we don't lose people. We maintain our personnel.
That's the quality training.
Exactly. And so I actually told him that. I said, well, hey, the reason maybe why I couldn't talk about a recruiting strategy is because my mission when I become a district manager is to meet the people I have and see and understand them, learn about them, so that way they don't leave.
You build that connection.
They don't leave. They don't quit. Exactly.
Right. It's that human connection.
So, and again, this is my thinking before. This is my thinking before actually getting the job. Right. That, hey, it's all flowers and grass is green, no one's gonna leave, type thing. But and the reality of it behind it is people do quit, people do leave. So, anyways, I told him that I didn't think what his reasoning was right.
Right.
But the person that I am and that we are actually is, but I'm going to go back to my store and I'm going to work as hard as possible and prove you wrong. So I did.
That's 2 years ago.
That's how the conversation ended. I went back, and at that time it was on mid-July. And
2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago. And I went back to my store. And
in Fountain Valley.
Yep. And of course, my team was disappointed because actually not even my team, the entire district. Like I had other managers calling me like, how did you not get it? How did you not get it?
Everybody was rooting for you.
Yeah. And I told them, look, let's just do what we got to do. And we got numbers to hit still, and yeah, I got a call 2 weeks later about being the interim, like a temporary DM. And I was like, yeah, hell yeah, I'll do it,
So it's like a depromotion, but not, it was like a semi.
Yeah, and it kind of sucked because there were other people who got the full promotion because there was multiple districts open, but for some reason I was only considered as a temp, which still I didn't. To me, hey, I still got the same job, and I'm gonna do it better than anyone.
Yep.
I'm gonna make you realize that you chose the wrong person to give a full-time position to, and you gave me the temporary one. Right. So yeah, I came out the gate swinging, made connections, and cleaned up the district, hired people, fired people, and I actually 4 months, because that was in August, September, October, November, December. 5 months later is when I got the full-time position.
Wow. So did you stay in that same
territory?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same territory. So it literally, it's only on the back end where you actually see the change to, instead of district manager interim, it's district manager.
Right.
So it's only, it's only just that small thing, but it's more of just the thought of like, all right, I did it.
That's awesome. Yeah, bro. I remember just all the effort and time put into Verizon. You were working right around the corner from the house, and then started managing stores after that.
Yeah.
And within 2-3 years, and how quick it was.
Yeah.
That's I'm super proud of you for that, bro. You really put in. You really deserve everything you're getting at this point in time right now. So
yeah, I appreciate it,
bro.
And it's I think what I really want people to understand, and this is with anything you apply, is don't stop.
Exactly.
Don't stop just because people tell you that you can't do something. Doesn't mean that you now give you're half-assed to the stuff you're doing. Right. So just because people tell you can't, you're not strong enough to lift that weight, doesn't mean now you're going to go and give half-assed to the other weight you're lifting.
Exactly.
You go harder.
Or try it once, can't do it, and stop.
Exactly. And that's kind of the history. I mean, there's a lot of movement within being a district manager. Like now I'm on my second district. I now manage instead of in like the central Los Angeles area, I'm now in the South Los Angeles area. So again, like I told you in the beginning, I'm all about building my brand, building my personal brand within the company. Not only did I manage 40 different personalities then, I'm managing another set of 40 different personalities here.
Wow, exactly.
So that's all in my interview is for a regional, because now the next step is regional, right? And I want to be a regional, and that's it. When that question comes, why do you think you're qualified to run a region? Well, hey, I have managed upwards of 100 different personalities already, right? So I love building the story.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I can see it. I mean, obviously, just living with you during this entire time, being able to live through it with you and see it all happen. So it's really been awesome. And
to take it back full circle, it all started because Jessica said, let's go get some Starbucks.
Oh.
Right.
Shout out to Starbucks.
Yeah. Starbucks, you owe us for that ads.
Man. One thing while you were telling this story about Verizon and your experience with them, when you mentioned relocatable, right, how important that is.
Yep.
That reminds me also, like, in a sense, kind of being coachable. People say, are you coachable?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And because, if you're not coachable, then you're what? You're you take offense to certain things.
Mm-hmm.
If you're coachable, you're open
Yep.
to changing it up.
Yep.
Learning something new, going a different direction without arguing about why or sticking to your ego, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that just kind of popped into my head.
Yeah.
How important it is to be coachable.
It's crazy important, and especially in sales. And I almost wish sales was like some type of course you can take in or learn in high school, or it should be like mandatory to work a retail job.
Right.
Before graduating college or high school.
Right.
I think there would be a lot more respectful people.
Right.
In
I agree.
In the world.
I agree. Just working in sales in high school at Finish Line for 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Right when I turned 16, I was like, I wanted a job.
Yeah.
Like I really was looking for that outlet of just being independent, being free in a sense financially, or just kind of on that path to building towards independence, right?
Yeah.
As an adult. So in high school, I was already thinking about that, and obviously you've seen it. Got the job at Finish Line 16. Wanted to drive 16, so started doing all that very early. So, and in sales and retail, and it was definitely an experience to be able to have to work with people one-on-one for a living, right? And be able to sell them a product or a service, something you offer of some sort, and that's strategic, right? There's definitely an approach to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just just talking to someone. There's definitely strategy. There's definitely you got to be conscious of certain things.
Yep.
You take L's every day, but you move forward.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of it's all of that, and I think you learn. Yeah, that's where you kind of learn about yourself and whether and how thick your skin is, and
it's
you can take it or not.
Yeah, I mean.
So yeah, to the point. I mean, sales is where it's at. Retail, you can learn a lot there.
Being in retail and just working with people, it helps you grow.
Definitely.
I think. I mean, I got a chance to watch a lot of people grow from being a salesperson to a store manager, and one mission that I have with people, and you can relate to this because right, you work with high school, whether that be troubled kids, maybe even elementary school kids that are troubled, or people who have opportunities. What I notice is that people just need help, and they need someone who's gone through it before.
Exactly.
And someone who can say, all right, I've done that, and no one showed me how to do that. So I want to make sure that my objective now is to make sure no one has to go through that. So now to kind of go back to what I was telling you about when I got denied I didn't have a recruiting strategy. My training now for all my store managers is recruiting. Right. So now I don't want them to be in a position where they're going to get denied for a reason like that.
Right. You're not going to let that happen.
Nope. I tell them every time, you're going to get a question like this, and this is what I'm training you for. And sometimes people don't make sense of it now. Right. No one ever understands in the heat of the moment of why we're doing something.
Exactly.
It's kind of like just like, hey, don't eat McDonald's. It's going to make you fat. Right. Until you're fat already, and you're like, oh wow, I should have listened.
Right. Or the reason why that. And that's a great point. I think that speaks on a lot of topics or things at different ages, different times of life.
So how do you get someone to understand that light bulb? And
what do you think? I think it comes down to really self-awareness.
Yeah.
Like how much people are really paying attention to themselves.
Yeah.
Because when you do that, you really become conscious of all the decisions, all the things that you do, the direction you're going towards, your goals, what you're ambitious about, so you really pay attention to all of those little things, really attention to detail. Mm-hmm. So when you're someone who's very aware of yourself, you're naturally an observant person.
Yep.
So when you're able to really focus and lock in on things like that, I think that's an advantage in a lot of different ways.
I think that's something as you know, anyone should, like, you know, if you have a younger brother or sister, niece or nephew, that that assistance type of reach should be there. So I really like, you know, man, like, you know, we talk so much about me and like where I've come, but if you think about how far your organization has come, your personal brand has come, right? Like, that's something to be proud of, you know. And I know people come on the podcast and you hear about them, right? And I'm sure you've expressed yours, and people who follow this already know about you, you know. But I think if they truly see the work you put in, they wouldn't even believe it, right? So a little bit of, and for the people listening, to give you an idea of how hard of a worker Miguel is, me and him started community college at the same time, and this man had graduated and got his bachelor's degree before I even finished my, you know, AA. So that's how hard of a worker this guy is. And not only did he get his degree while simultaneously running an organization, you know, building it up, and I'll say from what it is now to how it was back then, it's crazy. It's like the level of sophistication is next level, you know, and you probably don't realize it yet because, you know, you kind of have to look at it from an outside point of view, but it's big, you know.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah. It's something to be proud of, and I don't think anybody gives you enough credit, and that's kind of like the boat that I'm into sometimes at work is, you know, you spend so much time, or myself spend so much time not passing on stress to my team. No one ever does the same for you, you know, like how do you have to control the organization, the podcast, going to school, right, for your master's, like do people, you know, that's something
that's a great point.
You have to sometimes, or not you, we as people who work hard all the time and just push, need to take a step back and relax.
Exactly.
You know, so that's
definitely
a really good thing to highlight.
Yeah, no, I think that's important for everyone going through, just have a lot on their plate in some form, whether it be work, sports, you know, projects, hobbies, whatever it is. It's really important to take a step back and really and take some downtime, right? Like disconnect a little bit, recharge. And I think that's one of the reasons why I was able to scale Dream Big to what it is now from what it started at. Because I was able to recognize, right, self-awareness, be observant, really pay attention to all the little details. And this can be, whether it be personally, like looking inward and how I'm feeling or kind of what my approach is to certain things, or it could be in ways where it's really externally, like not on a larger level, a macro level, right? Micro level, and then there's macro. So whether I'm looking at personal goals or, you know, something much bigger than that, educational, more professional. But to the point I'm saying is that it's really important that we take that time to work on ourselves, to disconnect, to recharge, just to be completely away from all of the work that we do, because that is equally as important to all the effort and time we put into our work. Yeah. Right? Because if we don't, like, what's that going to look like?
Just like we talked about in the beginning, attention to detail, you know? Right. And that's how it actually kicked off. That's how it kicked off to me talking about Verizon, because you need to pay close attention to detail. I think initially in the beginning we were talking about that, like how important it is to have that and not to do too many things at once. You know, being in a leadership role, you kind of, you know, I'm sure you're the same. You have so many ideas. Where do you start, right? And that's kind of how I am. Although, you know, it's not that where do I start. It's how do I get 8 or 10 people to do the same thing that I want. You know, so.
And I think, you know, in regards to that, not just to add to that real quick, I think too, we I think it may be impossible to get your employees or coworkers or just teammates to replicate the work that they do, that you do. There's no identical work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because, for example, someone who owns a business is naturally going to put in more effort and work than the employee of the business.
Yep.
Right. So it's really hard to get those results, like identical results, and set those same expectations. But it doesn't mean, right, people can't be challenged, and they can't achieve a high status of some sort. But I think there's always like some kind of difference there.
Yeah, and I think that's where important, like, you have to really love what you do to keep it going.
Bottom line, I think that's the bottom line.
And now going on 2 years and being a district manager, and seeing multiple managers come in and out. One thing that I noticed that has the same message with all the people who are out now is they truly didn't love what they did. And that's okay. Right. You as a leader, you almost want to free them of this jail they're in.
Right.
Right. And this is probably what they needed. Like, have you ever had something bad happen and you're like, this is what I needed?
That's true.
Right. And
that's true.
It has to. This is me letting people or parting ways with store managers because it's not what they love. That's what they needed, So I like to think, at least. But to kind of go back about being aligned, that's my philosophy, is getting people who have that or who share a similar message, right? And I think that's why it's important, is understanding who you're working with and what people's goals are.
Definitely.
Because like you said, not everyone's the same. But that's where it comes a good leader versus a great leader. A good leader is going to say, okay, let's keep doing this. We can do it. A great leader is not going to talk to the group as like that. They're going to talk to an individual and say, hey, look, you had mentioned that you wanted to achieve some of this stuff. And you approach it with more of a kind of a just more specific to that person.
Right.
And this is with anything, right? Like you're doing a lot of mentoring and talking with high school students. Is you can preach all day, go to college,
right?
But to some of those kids, like, maybe they don't. It's not that they don't want to, but how does it correlate to them?
Definitely, and I think that's where it's important that you're able to address that, right?
Yeah.
And I think as someone who's a counselor and someone who coaches kids, whether it be sports or in the classroom, it's really important to be able to relate to all the levels of students and young people, not just pushing every single kid to college as if that's the only way out and that's the only thing that's after high school. It's not. And the reality is those other options and all those other opportunities are not talked about enough.
Yeah.
And a lot of these young people, students in high school, when they get to that point, there's so many different things that they're thinking about doing, and not nearly half of them are being discussed or presented, at the school level.
And that exactly, and that kind of goes back onto the counselors, like the kind of like what I'm talking about. We just have people who don't love what they do.
Right. And
the counselors should discover what their kids want to do.
Right. And as a counselor in training, right, an intern, someone who's going to school and also interning as a counselor, I go in with that in mind.
Yeah.
Right. That's one of the reasons why I went into counseling to begin with.
Yeah.
I didn't have a counselor I had a nice counselor, someone who, was answering my questions when I needed, but at the same time didn't really understand who I was and my background.
Yeah.
So I definitely went into counseling knowing that I was going to do everything I can to best serve every single student and not guide every single one within the same direction, right? Yeah. Be centered on who they are as a human, as a student, and just really hear them out and help them get from point A to point B, whatever that looks like for them.
How much additional work do you think that's given you?
Additional
if
work.
any. What I mean by that is that creating more work for what would be the counselor to help identify what they need and guide them? Like, is that?
No, I think that's natural.
That should be in the conversation you have.
Right. I think absolutely, and I think a lot of counseling centers within schools are different. Mm-hmm. Not every counseling program within high schools or middle schools are the same. They all want to get to a certain point, but for example, the reason why I bring that up is because some talk about different options besides college. Mm. Not every school has the capacity or the counselors or the staff or the funding to really provide that support because of schools and education being underfunded, right? So that alone is already holding everyone back.
Yeah. So at that time, you have to get really self-motivated counselors to want to take it upon themselves. Because
counselors, the average for counselors, I believe the ratio is 400 to 1. But it's beyond that. So a lot of schools are seeing counselors higher than the average nationwide ratio, which I believe is 400 to 1. But counselors right now have like 600 students on their caseload, and they can't see every student and really work with them one-on-one.
Yeah, that's more than
that's the problem.
That would be more than because school days, that's probably like 4 a day.
Right.
And by that time, it's already the end of the year.
Some require more support and one-on-one time than others.
Yeah, that's...
It's awesome. I love school counseling, though.
Yeah.
I love it. So I'm really happy to be in this field and to be where I am, working with the counselors at Norwalk High. That's awesome within itself, too. Shout out to Norwalk and the counseling team out there.
We'll take that ad money.
But I'm really enjoying where I'm at when it comes to school and counseling and interning. So
that's good.
I'm learning a lot, and at the same time, able to help a lot of people too.
What about your master's? How far are you?
My master's, I'm graduating in this May.
Shout out to May. Shout out to May. Get ready, guys. Special podcast May edition, graduation edition. Hopefully
everything is. Hopefully we can have a graduation.
Yeah.
Who knows what that's going to look like? What are we, February now? Hopefully, but I'm just gonna more than anything, I'm just happy to graduate and be done with school.
Yeah.
And transition over to my career full time.
Yeah.
And not worry about school anymore. Like that's what I'm really, really excited about. To be quite honest with you.
About not even have to. Yeah, because think about it. If you're only given a certain amount of hours in a day. And if you've reached, a certain level of skill with, so many hours, and now imagine you're getting, another 4 to 6 hours back to put into the something else, into the podcast.
Like that is so. I think about
so much time.
A lot. Time.
Yeah.
That's another important topic. Time. Time is extremely valuable. Mm-hmm. Time is a currency.
Yeah.
Right. It's like. Time is a currency, whereas money is a tool. The money, you use it as a tool. You just use it to exchange, to trade.
Yeah.
You don't keep it it's a tool. Just like time is a currency. Like we got to learn these different concepts because they're being talked about differently.
Yeah.
Or at least the norm of that is not talked about, or it's not even that, but.
Yeah, I mean, you see all these famous people like The Rock and Kevin Hart waking up at 5 a.m. Right? And as us, as quote unquote normal people, we like, that's crazy.
Right.
But recently, I actually started waking up at like 5:50, 6 o'clock. And this is probably like a month ago. It's when I started being more active in trading stocks. And
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, and so consistently for about 2 to 3 weeks, I was waking up at that time, and it felt good. You have more. You literally do have more time to do stuff. right? And so from like 6 o'clock, well, technically market open at 6:30. So at 6:30, I was already had my coffee. I had my laptop open, and I was just looking at the stock market,
Now, are you
analyzing charts.
fully awake? Do you feel fully awake
Yeah,
at this time?
yeah, because I'm up at 5:50.
Okay.
And they always say surround yourself with like-minded people.
Yeah.
So I have friends, Lewis, shout out to Lewis, Fernando, Angel,
Sweet Lou.
Sweet Lou, yeah, who are also not, they're invested, but they're not obsessed yet. Because their money's in it, but their whole mind isn't in it yet.
Right.
Completely, which is fine.
Right.
It depends however you want to invest. You
you're
can buy
allowed
and
to do
hold.
that,
Yeah,
right.
you buy and hold long term, right? You like Nike, buy a lot of Nike and
Right.
hold it long term.
Sit on it, yeah.
And I was like that. And then I really thought like, okay, can I make something of this? If I actually put my time. Do you remember in the beginning of the pandemic when I told you, it's like, I'm gonna learn how to trade stocks.
I remember,
I was just like watching
the app, the computer. Bought a new PC.
I bought a new computer for it.
Yeah.
Because I knew if I spent money towards something, I'm gonna have to do it.
Yep.
And yeah, so it wasn't up until recently where I took it serious, and to hold myself accountable, I created an Instagram page.
Yep, seen that.
To just be more accountable.
What's that Instagram page? Can people follow you?
Yeah, hit me on that follow on Instagram, VYD_trades.
Hey.
Yeah.
Make sure you get that insider trading.
Yeah. Hashtag I'm not a financial advisor. Yeah, there you go.
Read the fine print first.
But
Before you follow, read the fine print.
So I was waking up at that time, felt good. And like you said, was I awake? Yes, because we were talking about stocks every day.
Like,
so it got to the point where I didn't even leave my alarm. I would just wake up at that time.
Naturally wake up.
Yeah, naturally wake up. And then recently my district got realigned. Going back to personal work now, got realigned. So meaning what that means is I got 3 new stores in my district, and my whole rhythm got messed up. And this is why it's important to have a rhythm, because a routine.
Right.
What messed it up for me is I let it mess me up. I didn't stick to my routine, and what I mean by that is, and one of my coworkers gave me some good advice, and he drew 4 squares. I wish I had a pen and paper to show you what this looks like. I want to show you, but so you picture 4 squares.
Right.
In one square there is time, one square there is money, one square there's family, and one square there's work. None of these should ever have more influence over the other or cross over. And what I mean by that, your work should never go into your family life, right? The time, you should never lose out on time. And how, I'm not explaining as good as him, but the point is the routine, right?
Right.
Your work routine and family routine should never overlap. Mm-hmm. Right? So if my work routine is from 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock, I am 100% dialed in. That's my routine.
Got it.
Right? And if from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. is my stocks, my hobby, whatever the hobby is that's my routine, then I should be dialed in. So even though my alignment for the district, I'm using that as an excuse that it threw me off, but in reality, my work never crossed over into the personal time.
That's true. That's a great point.
So I let it mentally mess me up.
Right, you let it throw you off.
Yes, I let it throw me off.
Slipping. Exactly,
and actually, I was thrown off in stocks because I wasn't waking up on time now. I was like waking up at 7:30, not focused, losing money, then going to work, trying to deal with this new alignment. So
probably started trading stocks
now
different times of the day now.
Exactly, now, and my whole routine's off because I'm late. I'm late to looking at the stocks.
Right.
Maybe at the positions
everything's thrown off now.
Everything's thrown off, but all because of the routine. Although, if I would have just stuck to the diagram that I said, personal life and the hobbies should never intermix, that should be fine. If I knew I got a realignment, what time am I supposed to deal with the realignment? when that time is, the 8 to 6:30. I don't deal with it at 7:30 or 6, so that's where I messed up, and I'm slowly getting back into that.
Stick to the plan.
Exactly. So have a routine. That's really important. So if your routine for I'm only studying for school is from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Right.
Don't do the podcast stuff at 11 o'clock. Don't take text messages from school counselors at 1 o'clock or whatever. Right. So that's what I'm trying to get better at personally.
And I think a part of that, like getting better at it within that whole process, it's also important to give yourself that grace of like being able to make a mistake, right? Like that's okay too. Like you said earlier, like giving yourself that compassion, showing yourself, kind of showing yourself the love, the same love that you give to others. Show yourself that love, because like you said earlier, we work really hard in a lot of different projects, different things, like without that recognition, right? Without people telling us. So if that's the case, why not we catch that and give ourselves that grace? Like, you're allowed to mess up too, if not more, because you're putting in way more work. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, But I think that's really important to be mindful of as you're getting better. Yeah, exactly, and that's what I realized that, like, okay, don't beat yourself up about it, and actually just, you know what, I'm gonna take a longer break, get realigned with my work, create that routine again, then get back into the stocks and start waking up that early. But yes, waking up early, that's what we're talking about. That's the main point. That was the main point. Waking up early, way better than, it does feel good, than if you wake up like at 9, 8:30. Man. Even just as waking up like at 7. At 7 o'clock, get up. And when you do start waking up early, like you mentioned, you naturally start waking up at that time. Yeah, without the alarm.
No alarm. Right. And you feel good about it. But also going to sleep
that's the most important part.
Going to sleep, not at midnight. I've been lately sleeping at 10:30 comfortably. Oh, that's good. And it feels good.
That's really good. You feel a difference.
Yeah, you feel, you almost start waking up at 5 accidentally because you had enough sleep already by that time.
You're already awake. Like, dang, I slept a lot. That's a great point.
Getting enough sleep is good.
The time you go to sleep 100% matters.
Yeah, and so now I'll put it out on the podcast, but I'm gonna now start incorporating some health and fitness into my routine. So the podcast, P90X. The podcast is holding me accountable to that.
Hey, all the people. But you hear that? You hear that? People need to hold Ivan accountable.
It's because we're moving, right? And next week into our new home, and I always said it since we were looking to buy a home in September. I was like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna start working out when we move. Have an at-home gym. That was kind of like my mindset. And now
by the mountains, be fresh.
Yeah, now that the time is here, I'm starting hopefully next week when we move.
Hey, you gotta document record yourself.
Yeah, I haven't worked out in over a year, so.
So are you gonna have a gym, or
how are you gonna
start?
We're gonna make a home gym. Okay. Home gym in the garage. Dope. Just basic. Probably. One of those machines that have multiple things on it. Nice. Ab roller. And
I have a red cord that I think it'll be cool if we can set it up there, which you guys can use too. It's actually really, really.
Yeah, I'm gonna take all your stuff that you have out here. I know you have quite a bit of things.
I'm keeping that, bruh.
The ropes. I'm gonna take the ropes.
Oh no, not the ropes. I love the ropes.
But yeah. Actually, that's one thing I wanted to touch on really quick for the people about buying a home.
Oh yeah, that's actually a great point. Because that goes into my first question that I wanted to ask you.
Perfect.
So my first question, because you're currently you're currently buying a home, or you bought a home. Yeah. Currently in the moving process, so you can expand on that. The first question was. Or is, what are you currently up to? And one of them is purchasing a home, transitioning So yeah,
Yeah.
expand on that.
Yeah,
There.
that's what actively I'm up to is aside from working, but buying a home. And I think and I actually talked to Jessica about this, like when we're in this process, because I just feel like this is something people don't talk about.
Right.
And if you do,
Finances
it's
was
more of
within
like
that too.
no one talks about finance, no one talks
Credit.
about credit, and excuse me, and the
Taxes.
when you do look up something, you're looking up a video that has like 200,000 views, and it's maybe not as relatable to you, and it doesn't make sense sometimes. So you kind of get discouraged unconsciously, thinking like, okay, what does it cost to
Exactly.
buy a home, like you on Google, but it's not clear,
Right.
and that's
So what's not clear about it?
what's not clear is where you start, right? Although it's like, okay, get pre-approved, what does that mean?
Right.
What does that,
Exactly.
what does that mean? And people, us, myself included, you get discouraged in thinking, I'm not going to go get pre-approved. I have X amount of credit cards. I'm not even going to do it. So kind of going back to what I talked about, if you want the job, you go ask for it, because the worst they can say is no. Same thing with the home. Take that same mentality is go get pre-approved, because the worst they can say is, oh, no, not yet. And you're going to be in that same position, even if you didn't go ask them.
That's true.
Right? So
Another great point.
So number one, again, not a financial advisor, but just on my own experience, I think people need to, what it means to get pre-approved is you get your credit ran by a lender, right? For this example, we'll use Miguel's bank. You give people loans on their house, and me, I want to see how much you'll give me a loan for. I'm going to go and get pre-approved for a loan, and you're going to give me a loan amount for, let's just say, $200,000. That's where you start.
Based on your credit.
Based on my credit.
My bank comes up with that dollar amount based on
the credit.
The application and your credit, essentially.
Yep, the credit, and what goes against that, obviously, with credit is debt, right? So if you have credit cards, jewelry, stop buying diamond earrings.
So debt, how much you debt matters.
Debt to income ratio, basically, in a nutshell. And I knew at the time, and I'm comfortable sharing it, but we had a pretty healthy amount of debt, and you get mentally discouraged, and the problem, like you said, is no one talks about this at a relatable level.
Right.
It's easy to look up a YouTube video of how I got out of debt and got a 700 credit score. Like, is that realistic? And it could be, but people need to hear from people they know,
right,
that it's okay if you have debt.
Exactly.
And it's okay to say to yourself, at this moment, you're gonna restart.
Yeah.
I'm gonna restart. I'm not gonna use my credit cards, and I'm gonna pay towards the credit cards.
Right.
Right. Even if that means you don't have a few dollars to your name, that you have to do that.
That's actually a great point, because that's step number one.
That's step one.
Right.
Step one is get pre-approved. Step two is saying it's okay to restart. Right. And the good thing about being pre-approved, and why restarting is not step one, is because when you're pre-approved, they'll actually tell you, hey, you should take care of some of these things. Meaning these credit cards are more influential over these credit cards.
Okay, so they'll give you like a little map.
They'll give you a timeline, right? A timeline of, okay, if you want to get pre-approved for $500,000, this is what you need to do.
That's why that's step number one.
Exactly. And once you get the pre-approval, you tell yourself, okay, let me reset. Let me change my mindset. 2. Let me get in a better place, and let me just, be better. And also, there's a lot of ways to buy in a home. You can, some people, you think, you hear all the time, I got to put 20% down, 20%. Yeah, that's true. Because there's more detail that I probably won't even go into, because of, is property mortgage insurance or PMI. It's like mortgage insurance for people who put 20% down, and there's different types of loans, but I'm not going to get into that. The point is that people should know that it's okay to have debt, and it's okay to say, I'm going to restart, and actually pay towards it. and
There's nothing wrong with that.
there's nothing wrong with that. And it took in the beginning of the year, and just like everybody's New Year's resolution, last year I said we're gonna buy a home, we're gonna pay off all the credit cards, and yada yada yada. And that was a talk track for me and Jessica for the last few years. And this year I finally just said it, like, that's it. I'm gonna do it, and I did it. We did it, and we paid everything down, and again, this is another thing too. The thing about going and seeking what you want. When we kept emailing these people about wanting to buy a home. We want to buy a home. We want to buy a home.
Yeah.
And no one was calling us back. Which is like, come
That's
on,
weird.
right?
Yeah, why not?
And maybe because obviously there's a lot of people buying homes right now, but they didn't take us seriously because of the debt that we had at the time. So don't get discouraged.
Don't let that discourage you from continuing.
Exactly.
And working towards that goal, whatever that is.
Don't let people hold you back, right?
People are gonna tell you stuff,
and you just stay persistent. And this is with anything, you just stay persistent, and you'll get it. And finally, we got a call back, and I told them, like, look, like, we've been reaching out to you guys. Like, how hard is it to try to buy a home? Because we've been trying to do it. We paid off all our debt already. And now where do we go? And like in the span of like 72 hours, we had chose our lot.
Wow.
We had chose our lot, and then we're, holy cow, we're actually gonna buy a home. So yeah,
that's how it started.
It was a quick turnaround, because we told them, like, we paid off all our debt, and that's probably why they didn't call us back, because of the whole debt thing. But you paid off all the debt, and yeah, then you start running credit again. About now, it's like, all right, how much are you pre-approved, or how much are you approved for? Now let's monitor your income, the statements, and it's a whole fiasco.
So the amount of debt you have when it comes to buying a home matters tremendously.
Yes. Yeah, because money going out to paying those credit cards is money that's not going towards a mortgage.
Exactly, and they want that money.
Yeah, and we went with a new build, right? Because you can buy a house, but we went with a new build because we didn't want the hassle of having to kind of just remodel.
Yeah,
remodel and potential problems, and plus in the Inland Empire, you just get more house for your buck.
Right. Definitely. So. That's one of the biggest reasons why people go in that direction.
Yeah. And right now we're going to be moving in a week. And actually, in a couple of days. We get our keys in 2 days.
So, that's exciting, bro.
So it's
that's big.
Yeah.
That's what you're currently up to.
Yeah, 27.
Buying a home.
27, buying a home.
That's
and
dope, bro.
Being a district manager for the last 6 years.
Going from busboy
to hero. I don't know. Yeah, but I think
busboy to big boy.
It's never too late for people.
And I think it's also important to recognize, now that we're talking about this within this moment, just the amount of work that was put into this, right? Because I'm sure it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it definitely took a lot of. And it's not just about going to work. It's a lot within, paying bills and being consistent, staying on top of things, all these promotions, managing, employees, and just all of that effort going into that. I think, it's important to just really recognize that and give ourselves that recognition that you deserve.
Yeah. No, yeah, thanks. And I think what people should know is that in the moments you put in hard work and you just feel like you're not going anywhere, in 3 years from that moment, you're gonna be laughing at about, oh man, I can't believe I was stressed about that. Right? So the analogy of going to work or going to the gym, working out for a week, you look in the mirror, nothing changed. You're working out for a month, you look in the mirror, nothing really changed. 3 months down the line, okay, I'm starting to see a little bit, nothing really major. You're not looking like The Rock yet. A year goes by, you're still not looking like The Rock, right? But the more consistent you stay, the more you'll change a little bit, right?
Yeah,
And that's kind of it with
consistency.
and that's with anything. So
Major key.
So whether someone who's listening to this is in high school and they oh man, this is taking forever, you're gonna cherish those moments, the grind it takes.
And I think that's what we're talking about, patience earlier.
Having patience. See, this is #patience podcast, right?
For real.
So how you gotta have patience.
Came right back to it.
It all full circle, and that's the way the cookie crumbles.
And that's the way the cookie crumbles. I love that. Where's that movie from?
What is that? Come on, 3, 2, 1. Yep. See?
Come on now.
You should have a segment of movie lines. Hey, there you go. That's a good one.
Gonna have to add that. Second question. What do you think people underestimate about you the most?
Underestimate
about you.
Damn, that's a good one. I think, you know what? I always kind of see myself as I think I could be like a motivational hype speaker.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
There you go. Hey, you should.
I think I could be.
I think you could.
I think because when I understand something, I can say it with passion.
Right.
Or
you can really break it down.
Really break it down, and I think a lot of it obviously come with my job. We have conference calls every morning.
Right.
Different than what people do, because I believe if we want a really good cadence, we're talking about daily rhythm. Every morning at 30 minutes before opening, I get all my openers on a call and brief them about the day. No district manager does this. But I do it because, they say breakfast is the best meal of the day. Yeah. This is our breakfast, right? Our team, the openers, are breakfast to our business.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
I try to get them off on the right foot. But yeah, I think the most underestimated thing was being able to motivate and inspire, maybe. Yeah. I just never had a platform to do so. Yeah. But my job is kind of.
I was going to say that, your personal brand. Yeah. That's the platform. You can, that continues to evolve forever, right? So you can expand on that. Nice, I like that, bro. Question number 3: something you do regularly, a practice or a habit that is challenging but totally worth it.
The stock trading.
Oh, I had a feeling you were gonna say that.
Man, it's I think. It's hard. It's hard, watching The Wolf of Wall Street 5 times is not enough training.
It's not.
It's not enough training.
You need to talk to Leo himself.
Yeah, I'm thinking of getting this microphone and hitting it on the side of my head like that scene in there. But stock trading is a lot harder than expected. And again, another thing wrong with the internet is stuff that gets put on there makes everything seem so easy. Again, because we go back to the internet only being the good stuff. Like, it only show when it's looking good, and they don't show the time where it grinds.
Exactly.
Right. And I think that's why
you see all the good.
Yeah.
Just like you said, we see all the good.
All the good, but not the amount of time it takes to get good. And that's what I really like this podcast, because in 3 years, as long as you maintain consistency, you're going to have some big name guests on here. And you're going to look at this timeline. You're going to look at this timeline and you're like, man, look at how far we've come.
Wow, that's true.
And that's something that you're not going to think about now, but in 3 years, you can listen back to the episode number 5, the Patience Podcast.
The Patience Podcast, when we decided to change the name.
Yeah. And, stock trading is super hard.
Stock trading, yeah.
It's hard because there's so many different ways you can make money. Right. And there's so many ways you can lose money. And it's real money you're losing.
And it's easy.
Yeah.
Like to lose.
It's easy to lose.
It could be easy to win, too, if you know what you're doing, right?
And this kind of relates to everything with the whole GameStop thing.
I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah, like tons of people lost money on there. And you have to think of the stock market is in order for someone to make money, someone has to lose money. So as many people are making money, there's equally, if not more, people are losing money.
I remember seeing when GameStop skyrocketed, somebody had $11K 11K in, I think, at the time.
And it turned into like
Or
13 million or something like that.
Yeah, it turned into like 11 million, something like that.
Yeah.
Like, what?
And that's possible. Those type of returns are very possible. And I've never seen that, that large of a return, but in terms of percentage gain, like in correlation to how much money you put in, I've seen 300-400% return on my investment.
Wow.
In a matter of days, and even some 100% return in a matter of seconds.
Wow.
And that kind of goes back to having a strong mental. So for anybody looking to get into stocks, and because it's a hot topic right now,
right?
Huge. And surprisingly, my Instagram is doing actually pretty well.
There you go.
So if you go on my Instagram and I haven't posted in a few days, it's because I'm taking a break.
Insider trading.
Yeah. Remember how I said it messed up my four squares and it overlapped into each other, my hobby and work. That's why I'm taking a break.
There you go.
I'm trying to make my squares even again, not rectangles.
The people understand.
But in terms of percent gain, having a strong mental and a plan is key. And I think I've been doing this for almost a year now. I'm not saying I'm good at it or great.
Yeah.
But I know enough to where trial and error. It's okay to say you've messed up and get better.
Exactly.
So what I'm noticing is if you don't have a plan or an entry and an exit strategy, then you're never going to be successful.
And is that what you mean by having a strong mental? Like having to that plan.
Because remember, I've seen 100% gain in less than like 10 seconds.
Wow.
And at the time, I didn't have a strong enough mental. So, going back to time, more time in a trade doesn't mean more money, right?
So can you say that again, bro?
So more time in a trade does not equal more money. So that lesson, I seen the 100% gain like that. And it wasn't like a few hundred, it was a couple thousand. And again, my, stubbornness, yes, maybe we can go to 200%. No, and it ended up going from up 130% to down 30%.
Oh my goodness.
All because I didn't sell when I had to sell.
Like negative 30?
Negative 30% on the investment,
Oh my goodness.
So that's like 160% swing, from up to green to red. So again, more time in a trade doesn't equal more money, right? So one thing
because it could go down.
It can go down just as fast.
So then, in that case, when do you pull out? When do you call it quits?
That's when you talk about your strategy. My favorite strategy, or what I'm doing now, is a percent gain. Once I hit 20%, I remove it.
So you have a number before?
Yeah. If it hits in 2 seconds or in 2 minutes, So obviously you want to go into a stock of something that you know about.
Can people learn more about what it is we're talking about, stocks right now, on your stock page?
Somewhat, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I'm trying to work on like dumbing it down a little bit, or not even dumbing it down, just making it make more sense.
Right.
Because
it's easy to pick up.
I haven't, because in stocks there's no this is letter A and we're going all the way to Z. No, it's infinity. You can start anywhere. So I always tell people, start with your favorites, because they're like, how do I get into it? Oh, you just start with your favorites. You like Nike? Buy Nike. You like Apple? Buy Apple.
And then really follow it. And
and then just look at it,
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's cool, bro. I think the stock game, outside of stocks, excuse me.
You're excused.
Like having a retirement account is a part of that same conversation, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk about that? Because I know people just, people through their employer get retirement accounts.
Yes. And man, I want to shout out to my second district manager I ever had, because he's the one that told me to enroll in my 401k. So employers have 401k accounts,
right,
or 401k retirement accounts. They usually match up to a certain percentage of what you contribute.
Right.
So if you work for a company that doesn't have 401k, get a new job. But if you also work for a company that matches and you're not contributing, go ahead and just slap yourself as well. But to go back to it, yes, he convinced me 2 years into the job kind of convinced me. He didn't even have to convince me. He just said, "Hey, look, do this. You'll thank me later." And I started contributing. Our company matched 4%, and
Nice.
I contributed 4% to a Roth account. A Roth 401k account basically means you contribute after taxes. So, which means that when you withdraw your money, you're not taxed on it. It's tax free. There's the regular 401k account as well, but you get taxed on that when you pull out money and when you retire. So anyways, that's what your company offers. So if anyone's listening has a company that offers 401k and you're not contributing, please sign up for it. It's free money, especially if they match.
That's like given.
It's given. It's free money, right?
Especially if they match.
If they match, you might as well do at least what they're matching. You don't have to do more, but do what they're matching. And then if you have the means to, everyone should open an IRA. And we were talking about the IRAs too, the 401k, or excuse me, the Roth IRA.
The Roth IRA.
Yeah, and I have mine with TD Ameritrade. You can put up to $6,000 there a year, and there's a number, and this probably won't make exact sense to a lot of people, but so compound interest basically is your initial investment plus the interest you gain, right? So imagine on a Roth IRA, and this is if you start at 28, I believe, 28 years old. If you contribute the max every year, $6,000
to the Roth IRA, and you average I believe it was a 10% gain or a 15% gain, something every year. So if it's a 10% gain, at the end of the year, you're gonna have $6,600. Right.
Then you're gonna contribute another $6,000 because that's the plan.
That's the max.
That's the max. So now your account has $12,600. You gain another 10% off of that, and then you add that on there, and then if you do that until you're, I think it was 58, you have like over $11 million
wow.
in your account
because of compound
interest.
Wow.
Because now the 10% gain, by the time you're in like 5 years after, you're gonna have way more money than just the original $6,000.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why it's important to look at the investments that you're putting in. To see how they're doing. Don't
just put them in anything.
Yeah, don't just put them in anything.
And not pay attention to it.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of companies that offer advice, and I mean, no one ever wants to, because no one wants to spend money to seek advice. Right. Like an accountant, are you gonna no one goes and wants to pay an accountant for advice, but they'll go and pay them for their tax return because they have to.
Right, exactly.
Right? But if someone's truly seeking, hey, I really want to build long-term wealth, or just a retirement, account, like a backup plan, then they should go and pay your $200-$300 to go talk to a financial advisor and see what they have to say. This is someone who is a trained professional. Hear what they have to say. Yeah,
it could be life-changing.
Can you imagine? Advice, you could pay $400 to go talk to The Rock for 1 hour. Sheesh. Would you do that?
By far.
Right? So
I'd have to give him some training tips because he's looking soft.
So that's what I'm saying. It's okay. One good piece of advice my actual boss gave me is, you want to take 4% of your income and invest it in yourself.
Smart.
4%. Right?
Pay yourself first.
Pay yourself. So if that 4% is $100, take that $100 and go, get a gym membership. Go whatever it is to invest in yourself. Take a class.
Yeah. Exactly.
It doesn't matter what it is. Buy podcast stuff.
Yeah.
Because this is what you want to do. You have to
invest in yourself. Whatever that looks like.
Right. So whatever that looks like, invest in yourself.
At least in a
productive way.
Productive way where it can become an asset of some sort.
Yeah. Yeah, don't go and, buy some dumb stuff. Don't go buy Kit Kats or something.
Butterfingers. No, I appreciate the insight on the stocks. I think there's a lot of listeners are definitely, if not already involved in that, are hearing more about it. Because with GameStop, right?
Yeah,
all these different
hype.
Stocks hitting, all the hype happening over this short period of time recently. it's everywhere. So I think stocks is definitely a hot topic. And where can people follow you to get more?
VYD_trades.
Hey,
And don't use Robinhood if you're first signing up. It's an easy interface to use, but they're not for the people.
For the people, clearly.
Click the link in my bio on the Instagram if you want to enroll in a free trading app where you don't have to pay any fees to trade.
There you go. And then fees.
And we both get free stocks when you deposit $100.
You heard it here first. You both get free stocks. Come on now. Rapid fire questions. You ready?
All right.
Here we go. What is something that most people get wrong about you?
That I'm fit.
That you're what?
That I'm fit.
That you're fit?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a lot of flab.
There you go.
For some reason, it's holding in place.
The last TV show you binged and loved?
Last TV show?
Yep.
It's Entourage. Well, it's kind of I guess it's kind of a TV show. Yeah, it's Entourage.
Yeah, Entourage is awesome. Love that show.
I love The Office better though. Just so everybody knows.
It's not on Netflix anymore.
I know.
It's on Peacock.
I'm gonna delete Netflix
and get Peacock.
No, I'm not gonna get that. They can't convince me. They're not gonna win me over just with The Office.
Tell me one thing you are grateful for.
I think it has to do. I mean, man, that's tough. I think I'm grateful for my ability to be coachable.
To be coachable.
Yeah.
Nice. That's something Michael Scott would say. I like it. To end the pod, one important piece of advice you would like to share with the people. One important piece that you think is value. What's some value? Some value you can bring to the people.
That's a good one. I think some value. It's okay to be uncomfortable.
It's okay to be uncomfortable. I like that.
It's okay to be uncomfortable.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And there isn't. And this is why I think people should work retail for at least a year. It's because you get in a lot of uncomfortable situations and you have a lot of uncomfortable conversations. And I think if people had enough healthy dialogue like that, you'll get a lot less people stressed.
Right.
Because you're able to talk through what's bothering you.
Even like that anxious.
Yeah.
Anxious.
Yeah. Because I mean, there's times where if you don't speak up about what's bothering you, you end up it messes up other things you're doing.
Right. It's like a ripple effect.
So what I mean by it's okay to be uncomfortable is it's okay to tell someone that's making you feel a way how you feel.
Right.
And it's not even about like negatively. It's like if you want that promotion, go get uncomfortable and ask that person that's in charge of the promotions to give you a promotion.
Exactly, because what's the worst thing that they could say?
The same thing that would happen if you didn't go ask. No.
Yeah, no.
Right? So it's okay to be uncomfortable.
It's okay to be uncomfortable. I love it.
Yep.
Ivan, brother man, Vanya Dick, appreciate you being on the podcast, bro. I know the people are going to love it. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate your time.
Yep. Hashtag VYD_trades. Instagram.
Insider trading. Thanks, y'all.